Coming up this Saturday on Beyond the Vibe, I'm joined by Robert John Burrison of Robert John and the Wreck.
I was singing Red Moon Rising and it felt good, and I wanted to know more about why, I don't know what that is, and I actually I kind of did a dive down in researching different cultures and everything, and what they believed about the Red Moon Rising. Because every culture, like across the world, all has different beliefs about it, and one thing that was a common thread in all those was kind of like a new chapter, rebirth. And I felt like that was a really cool concept, especially for us, because I felt like we were going into a new chapter as a band.
A while ago, I saw that you got to play Can't You See with none other than Marshall Tucker, the Marshall Tucker Band.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I imagine that was kind of a bit of a benchmark moment for you.
Yeah, it was terrifying. Not too long ago, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, every time I walked into a bar with a band that I knew, I was hopping up there and I was singing Can't You See? Like I had to have done it so many times in my life. And people would ask for it, so it was definitely a song that was very new. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like a foreign song where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll learn it. Yeah. But then, how that happened, just being asked to go sit in with them. And I was like reading the lyrics of the first verse, like, over and over again, like for like a full hour, just the first verse. And then we get up there and I'm not even singing the first verse. And then, your mind just goes into like, wait, what am I doing?
So I'm here with Robert John, of course, of Robert John and the Wreck. Thank you very much for joining me. Of course, it has been a couple of years since we last spoke. I believe I was kind of part of that first ever rig rundown that yourself and Henry did on that first UK tour. And obviously a lot's happened since then. I see you got, your following since then has got so much bigger. You're playing bigger and bigger venues. I saw a couple of days ago your videos are being shared by Joe Bonamassa. So, what's this time been like for you guys since kind of, I remember it was since like Shine a Light on Me Brother came out. It just felt like you guys have been on this continuous kind of rise. What's that period been like for you?
It's been wild. There's been a lot happening since then. In our lives and for the band and everything, and it's just been like a roller coaster, and it continues to move, and it goes up and it goes down, and it does a 360 or something. Just as long as it hasn't felt like it stopped. The roller coaster stopped at all, which is it's a good thing, for us at least, knowing that there's always something on the horizon that we're looking forward to, and there's always things in the future that we're working on and pushing for, so and in between all that we get a little bit of time for relaxation, but not much. So it's been wild, man. It's been wild. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope it continues to move, and go on this trajectory.
Of course, speaking of that, you have the new album on the way, Red Moon Rising, out on the 28th of June. Was there a particular kind of feel, a particular vision that you had, going in for this release this time around? Did you have a plan?
I don't think there was, we didn't sit around in a circle and say, this is what we want to do. We just end up, putting songs together that we love and write songs together, and then get into the studio. And, I think the last record we put out, Right Into the Light, was done all over the place with different people, and none of the songs were written together. But that we knew that going in, that's kind of like what we were putting together.
Mm.
But I think when you're in the room and you're putting an album together, it has a tendency to feel, you know, like an album because you're in the room, for those some odd days with the same people, and you had the same mindset, um,
Mm.
and the same vibe going on. So it just kind of tends to happen like that, I think sometimes. But we didn't have any overlaying thoughts or ideas walking in there, other than to make the best record we can right now. You know.
Mm. I mean, listening to it from the get-go, I just felt that this is a major step forward for you guys. Sonically, it just feels like you've kind of really matured as a band. It feels like there's this like instantly recognizable sound, but it feels fresh. It's like I know it's Robert John and the Wreck immediately, but it just feels this kind of new polished feel. Was there something that you did kind of differently in that production process this time around? I mean, it just feels really kind of on
Yeah, I mean, we worked with Kevin Shirley on the record,
Mm,
and he's done plenty of amazing things in his career. So
mm,
just the honor and ability to get to work with him was one thing. But
mm,
I think he does add that. He does add that level, that moving up a level in certain ways, and also adds kind of a cohesiveness to the sound, and
mm,
and making it, you know, all be moving together, and getting the best out of us that we can give them. So I think he was a huge part of that record, and we're very happy with it.
mm. Of course, that title track, Red Moon Rising. What was kind of the meaning behind that song? What does it mean to you guys?
Yeah, well, beside it just being a really fun groove to play, which is what
Mm,
how it started. I mean, we're
mm,
just in the room playing with each other, and started jamming on that, and just realizing that that feels good. It might not be exactly um, the song that you would imagine Robert John and the Wreck to play,
mm,
but it was a lot of fun for us. And then going down, the lyrical side of things was a lot of fun for me because I I was singing Red Moon Rising, and it felt good, and I wanted to know more about why, what, I don't know what that is, and I actually I kind of did a dive down in research in different cultures and everything, and what they believed about the Red Moon Rising, because every culture, like across the world, all has different beliefs about it,
mm,
and one thing that was a common thread in all those was kind of like a new chapter, rebirth. And I felt like that was a really cool concept, especially for us, because I felt like we were going into a new chapter, as
mm,
a band, and rolling forward. And so that's kind of how that song came about. And it just was kind of a little different than everything else. And we liked the sound of it. And we went for that for the title of the record. And, the album covers kind of trippy and post-apocalyptic too. So that kind of made it fun. And yeah, we're just out here to have a good time, and have fun with what we're doing. And that's really that's really what we do when we're having fun.
mm. I mean, did it feel like a bit of a rebirth for you guys? I mean, I listening to it, as I say, it feels like this kind of next stage. While you were making this album, did it kind of like while you're in it, did it feel like that kind of new beginning?
Yeah, a little bit. Going through, a member change a little bit, and
Mm,
just like finally like doing a true record, um, again, really since COVID eras. I mean,
mm,
the next like true record. I mean, after that we did the live record, we did Ride Into the Light, but oh, 1 second, sorry. It was after that, and we were seeing, we were really busy on the road and everything, and
mm,
I don't know, we just it felt like to us it was a new chapter in a ton of different aspects, even personal aspects,
Mm,
not just the band aspects, just overall in the life that we are in. Um, it was opening the next chapter and saying, all right, let's go. This is it.
mm,
And we're still writing that chapter, and who knows when we're going to start the next one. They come out of nowhere, and
mm.
I don't think they're completely planned sometimes. So we're excited to see what happens.
Mm. Um, for me, a kind of a real personal favorite for of mine off the album is Ballad of a Broken-Hearted Man. It's just got that kind of wonderful, grand kind of feeling. And how did that song come about? I mean, I know that that's one that's been quite popular with fans as well.
Yeah, I mean, all songs come from different places. You
Mm,
know, I some songs you can't even tell you where anything why they happen. But I mean, that song, we were in my buddy's living room, just hanging out, playing music, having some drinks, and we started kind of the early concept of that song, and then it wasn't really hitting in any way, and we kind of you know lit it on the side, and then came back to it, and you know made it into what it is, and then in the recording, I mean, that was a lot of Kevin. Just kind of almost when the song starts, it's almost like a intro to a movie or something. It kind of it you can
mm,
it sets it up
mm,
for the whole song, which I think was a really cool aspect. It wasn't just like, all right, here we go. It kind of let it breathe a little bit, which was really fun. And yeah, it's awesome that people kind of are into that song, and have been watching the video as much as more
mm,
than we ever thought. So yeah, and it's a really fun song to play live, which is kind of our thing is we always
mm.
like to make sure that we can play them live and they translate, and because that's just as much fun as everything else, if not more fun.
I mean, speaking of that, it's felt kind of from the outside looking in that you guys have always been touring, you've always been busy, always playing gigs. Is there something, around that? You seem like one of the busiest bands going for touring. Is that just something that you love doing? Love just going out there, traveling to new places, playing new venues?
Yeah. I mean, and I think we've always loved it, and finally figured out that a way that makes it work.
Mm,
With the team around us, and yeah, I mean, every time we walk into a new venue, and there's people there, it'll continue to be such a great feeling. I don't think we've ever taken that for granted. I mean, if we
mm,
sold out a show in a certain city and we went back there, I don't think we walk in expecting it to sell out again.
mm,
I mean, we're just grateful that there's anyone in that room. Um, but then, I mean, there's obviously a huge part of us that gets really excited, and almost it makes you tell yourself that all this touring is worth it when you go into a packed room full of energy, and you can feel it. We can feel it from the stage if the crowd's
yeah.
energetic and into it, or if they're not, and the nights where the crowd's there to party with us and have a good time, and those are the best nights for us, and that's how we continue to tour. I mean, it we hope to be giving everyone in that crowd as much as they're giving us every night, and
Mm.
that's kind of the relationship that keeps us working as hard as we do and keeps us moving. If we were on that stage not getting anything from the crowd, I don't know how much we'd be enjoying doing that. So it's really our fans that keep us going. That's really the true statement.
Mm. I mean, a thing that really struck me the first time I saw you guys was, I came away just feeling great. It was like that was just like such an enjoyable show. It just had this real kind of uplifting feel. I mean, it was just that first time. It was kind of just after all that COVID stuff as well. So it was like
Yeah,
this is exactly what I needed. I mean, do
yeah.
you? Do you just kind of feed off that energy in the room, you guys? Because it felt like, you kind of enjoy that, that kind of improv stuff. You're doing kind of extended versions of songs and going off on these kind of like I know Henry likes doing his long solos, and I was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
this is great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the energy of the crowd and the people in that room, we feed off that the whole time. We might
Mm,
write a set list, but there's different ways that you can play that set list.
mm,
You know, it'd be pretty interesting to record a show um, of with a crowd, let's say that's very unenergetic and not happy to be there, and then record a show with the same amount of people just that are really happy and excited to be there. Um,
mm.
I don't really want to do this test, but there would definitely be a difference in how we play and how we move things forward in the show. Yeah, to
Mm,
to the latter for sure.
mm. Um, Speaking of that, is there a particular favorite song off the new album that you look forward to playing live? Or is that like trying to pick a favorite kid?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a favorite kid. It's the truth. Maybe some moms will tell you they don't, but I think they really do. Um, I think no. One of my favorite tracks on the record is called a track called "Give Love" that was just released, and we haven't played it live yet. And I think that's part of the excitement
Mm,
is playing a song live for the first time. Um, whether or not it bombs or whether or not it does great, we'll we'll figure that out afterwards. But the excitement of playing a song live for the first time is always fun, and we're excited to play that one live. So
mm,
that right now, that's like and I'm sure it'll change. Once you play that song 50 times, then there'll be another favorite song. Um, and but the cycle keeps moving. It's never a dull moment with the repertoire that we have been
mm,
writing and creating over the past few years. I mean, set lists are becoming harder and harder because there's a lot of songs, and you know we we're still human beings, so we can't really play 4 hour shows every night when we're on the road playing 8 days a week. But yeah, we try to keep it as fun as possible and keep it eclectic as possible too, so that everyone's hearing something new, or maybe
mm,
something for the first time, not just the same songs that we've been touring on for 2 years. And granted, there'll be the couple songs that we play every time because half the people there would be upset if we didn't, but we try to keep it dispersed enough, and try to keep it try to keep everyone on their toes as much as possible.
mm. I mean, I was thinking, like at this point in your career where you've got this repertoire of songs. I mean, how do you like begin? Do you just have these kind of staples that you think, well, we have to play this, or somebody's going to kick off, or do you think, all right, okay, we'll get a bit of a balance here? What's that kind of thought process with that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing is that our drummer Andrew is kind of the one in charge of that. He has
Right.
he kind of has that his whole headspace is kind of putting that show together.
Mm,
And I think that there's the staples, and then there's creating the show as well. I mean,
mm,
you don't really sorry, there's
that's
creating a show as well where you don't want to. It sounds stupid, but you don't want to like play a bunch of slow songs and
yeah.
that's how you start the show. And you don't, you got to have some depth in what you're doing. So there's like, there's kind of like a recipe
Mm,
where you need this much flour compared to this much salt, and there's certain songs that fill that salt category and certain songs that fill that flour category, and we just kind of put it together piece by piece, and I mean there's songs that we try out that we're like, oh, this is going to kill, and it doesn't, and so
mm,
we don't play that song very much.
mm,
And then there's songs we're like, well, let's just try it out, and it kills, and we're like, well, I guess we have to add that to the set now. That was rad, so we're always trying stuff out and
mm,
trying to have as much fun as we can while we do it.
mm. something that I'd noticed, from looking through the socials is a while ago I saw that you got to play Can't You See with none other than Marshall Tucker, the Marshall Tucker band.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I imagine that was kind of a bit of a benchmark moment for you. I mean, what was that kind of experience like? I mean, it must be a cool thing because I mean, you say that to a lot of musicians, and that for a lot of people could be a bit of a bucket list moment.
yeah. It was terrifying. Um, yeah. I mean, growing up, like especially, um, I would say not too long ago, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I mean,
Mm,
every time I walked into a bar with a band that I knew, I was hopping up there and I was singing "Can't You See?"
mm,
Like I had to have done it so many times in my life, and people would ask for it. So it was definitely a song that was very, you know, I knew it. You know what I mean? Like it
mm.
wasn't like a foreign song where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll learn
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But then, I don't. How that happened, just being asked to go sit in with them. And I was like reading the lyrics of the first verse, like, over and over again, like for like a full hour, just the first verse. And then we get up there and I'm not even singing the first verse. And then, your mind just goes into like, wait, what am I doing? So, yeah, it was definitely one of those moments where you're like, I can't believe that I'm singing with those guys. And then
Mm,
afterwards, you're like, all right, well, that wasn't whatever. Let's just keep going, And um, no, it was an honor to do that with them and to say I've done it, and
mm,
um, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I mean, what goes through your mind at that point when somebody goes, would you like to do this? I mean, me personally, I'll be thinking, oh my God, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely needed another drink, but I think what we've learned as a band and being, in areas that we get an opportunity to do things is just saying yes.
Mm,
I think 10 years ago I would be terrified and I would say no, and then realize that you lose a bunch of opportunities. And saying yes and knowing that you can do that, like come on,
mm,
um, is an opportunity that if you don't say yes to, especially in the music industry, you'll be like, oh, well, Robert says no to everything, so let's just not ask him to do anything. Same thing for anybody in the band. Um, so I think just being open and just doing stuff that makes you super uncomfortable or that you might be terrified about is literally what's helping you more than anything else.
mm.
It's, people say that all the time, like jump out there, try something new.
Yeah.
um, it's kind of cliche and dorky, but it's true. It's
Mm,
like there's nothing more true than that. I mean, you try something new, and if you hate it, that's fine. But at least you know now that you hate it. But most of the time, you probably love it, and you're like, wow, well now I just want to do that a little bit more. So,
mm.
I enjoy playing with Robert John and the Wreck, and I don't need a guest appear very many times. I'm good with what I'm doing, but you know, um, it's just more fun just to say yes sometimes, no matter how terrifying it might be, than
Mm,
you know, not putting yourself out there because who knows what you can find and people that you'll meet and yeah, and I mean, Doug from Marshall Tucker, the guy that's still doing it. He's such a sweetheart.
mm,
I mean, he came and watched our set the next day and was just over the moon and just a great guy. So
mm.
it's
I mean,
really cool.
I find what you mentioned there, about that kind of just being outside of that comfort zone. I think it's true. It is a bit of a cliche thing, but I think that's when you're kind of at your creative peak, isn't it? When you're right on that point where it's kind of that bit uncomfortable. Did you have that kind of when you're recording the album, when you're making an album? Do you think we kind of want to be at this point where we're kind of doing something a bit fresh? I mean, you mentioned with the song Red Moon Rising that it's kind of got a bit that different flavor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that there's some songs on the record that we put together in the studio just because
Hmm.
we didn't have them together before that. And I think when you do that, you're working with your gut
Mm,
feeling. You're not sitting at home thinking too much about it because you're in the studio. You got to track it. You got to make that decision right now. And if you listen back and it sucks, you can change it. But like most
mm,
of the time, your gut feeling is some of the best decisions that you'll ever make because you're not thinking about it. Your subconscious is doing all the work, and you're just doing exactly what you know how to do already, but you don't have time to think about it, so you just do it. And
mm,
I think most of the time, it's always, at least for me, and at least for the guys in my band that I've been able to watch them do it. I think it's a very true statement. And that being said, every song is different, and some songs are an amazing song that people have worked on for 6 months, and it comes out, and you're like, that's just pure gold. But you
mm,
know, um, I can only speak for myself, and watching that happen with the guys, and I think that when you're, you know, and it's not about being prepared. It's about being open to changes and
mm,
open to new ideas coming in, and because right when you hear that new idea, it might change what you've been thinking about this song for 3 months or whatever. But instead of worrying about that, just start fresh and be like, cool, new idea. Let's take it there and see what happens. And yeah, it's most of the time would probably be pretty cool.
mm.
Did I
Um,
answer your question? I forgot what your question was. I
no, I
just got
think you
through talking.
did. I was saying about kind of pushing those boundaries, doing something new, as we mentioned with Red Moon Rising, it's got that different flavor that you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
haven't quite done before. And yeah, I do think that's a true thing. Um, a question I like to finish on for returning guests. It's a bit of a hypothetical one. Kind of
Love it.
relates to albums as well. If you could kind of guest or just be a fly on the wall for any album, what would that album be? Do you
Like
have
the
like,
recording of that record?
yeah, like, see how it happens or be a part of it in some way? Maybe like a personal favorite one for yourself?
Man. Um, yeah, I think being a fly on the wall um for that early Black Crowes record.
Mm.
I mean, there's a ton of Black Crowes records that I would love to be a fly on the wall for. But um
Because there's
man, now I'm
always that
thinking too
debate,
much.
isn't there's always that debate, isn't there? Like some say, oh, the first album, or some say, oh no, it's Southern Harmony. Like that's old people go, oh, that's the one. Like what? I mean, I wouldn't know
Yeah.
what to go for.
Yeah,
When I'm
I mean,
thinking
and then
that.
maybe I love the early records, but I've always found myself going back to Croology, that kind of acoustic
Mm,
style record they did, and they recorded, their old songs just in a different acoustic vibe. I think
yeah.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that one, just to see how those decisions are made.
Mm,
Like, oh, you're going to play drums on this one, but for this one, you're not going to play. Yeah, I think that's what I'd say right now. Another easy one would be Audio Slay's first record. I'd love to watch that get made. Um, I love that record, and that'd be nice to be a fly on the wall for. I mean, and then there's going to be more. I'm just going to think about these after we're done. Be like, why did I say those two? Let's just lame. Why not a cool one?
No, I think there's some solid choices there. I mean, I think a lot of people wouldn't assume that, like they wouldn't go to that as your kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know, like,
Yeah,
Um, well, thank you very much for joining me. Of course, for those that want to grab the album, you can pre-order that via the link in the
yeah,
description below. And of course, you will be coming to the UK later in the year, starting that
yeah.
UK
We'll be in the
tour in November.
UK. Yeah, November. We're excited.
Mm.
It's gonna come in.
Playing
It's gonna
playing
be
bigger
here in no time.
venues this time. I see that. I mean, for my
Yeah,
local, you're moving up to Rock City, which must be an exciting one. Everybody always gets excited
yeah.
about that
I
one.
mean, everyone tells us about it every time we're there. So it's exciting to we'll see what it's like, and I yeah, we're excited. I mean, we had no idea what to expect the first time we went to the UK, and it was
Right.
beyond what we ever thought about. And every time
Didn't
we
you
get out
sell
there,
out the
it's
whole? Didn't you sell out the whole tour? It was something like I remember seeing like wait as the dates, and it was just sold out, sold
yeah,
out, sold out, and I
yeah,
thought, wow,
yeah. It was a I don't know. It was a
it felt
trip
like
for
something's
sure.
happening, and it's
Yeah,
yeah.
and so every time we keep going back, there's always more people, and it's
Mm.
just always crazy, and we love it. So we're really excited for
Mm. Well, I know I'll be there, so people can say
it.
hello.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We'll
Was
see you
that
there.
fun? Yeah, absolutely, man.